My bullying started around 4 years old, I guess, is the first time that I remember being bullied in kindergarten. I knew on some level from the time I was a toddler that I was different from other kids, from other boys. And on some level I knew that was gay in whatever way that a toddler understands that. But you know, I think in my case, it's different for everybody, but in my case, the way that my being gay exhibited itself as a child was that I was more drawn to activities that are stereotypically female activities, like, you know, housework, and I was not into sports, you know, things like that. In 6th grade, it was the last year of grade school, there was 4 of us who were tasked with the job of changing out the missalettes in the church, because it was a Catholic school. I remember the other 3 boys just chased me all over the church, and then finally, when they finally got me, they held me on the floor of the sanctuary and sort of rolled me over, and they all got on top of me and then gave me a giant wedgie. And, you know, it almost sort of felt a little bit like I was sexually violated because it was such a major wedgie. You know, that sounds a little funny to say, but that, I think, is really when the bullying sort of took off, when we got to be sort of middle school age. A lot of it was just like name-calling in the hallway, and a lot of it, you know, was name-calling when I got up in front of the class. And I remember feeling like any day where that didn't happen was a good day, and those days didn't happen very often at all. And even when they did, just the fact that I was anxious about what might happen throughout the day just really wore on me. I was in the 11th or 12th grade, and in this one particular math class, the teacher would leave us alone. He'd leave the room for about 20 minutes at the end of class and just leave us to do our homework. And so the room was very quiet. And this girl, who was very loud and boisterous and very much a bully, she bullied a lot of girls, I know. She, in the middle of class, we were in the center of the room, and she was sitting across from me. And she turned to me in a very loud voice and said my name, and then said, "Do you like to suck?" in front of like all my peers. And it was just the most humiliating thing that I think had ever happened to me. You know, I was an only child, and I felt I love my parents so much that I didn't want to burden them with the knowledge that their only child was someone who was not liked by his peers. Somebody who was picked on, made fun of, and I didn't want them to have that experience as parents of an only child. So I kept it to myself. And also, I think that if I felt that if I told them that I was being bullied, they'd want to know why. And then that would draw attention to the fact that I was gay too, so I didn't tell them either thing. Eventually, during the summer before my senior year of high school, my parents by then recognized that I was very depressed and sought counseling for me, which I was very much against and didn't really participate in. And, you know, I was not really in touch with my emotions and feelings like I am now, and, you know, as you might imagine a 16-year-old would be like. When I turned 40, I just decided, okay, I'm gonna get to the bottom of whatever it is that my problem is, that I have these issues with self-esteem, and I have issues with some of my relationships with people. Very quickly was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder, for one thing. I was diagnosed maybe a year after that with PTSD. We started working on the bullying once we got sort of past the anxiety. But I mean, it can happen to anybody. It can happen because you're bullied. It can happen because you're physically abused, sexually abused, because you were in a car wreck or a plane crash, or any traumatic event can cause it. And you have triggers that will sort of take you back to the trauma that you experienced in the first place that led to this illness that you now have because of it. I know now that it's something that's always going to affect me. It's it's something that affected my self-esteem and probably will always have an impact on my self-esteem. I'm a whole lot more confident than I used to be. I would never have dreamt of doing something like this, years ago. But, I want to help people, so that's why I'm doing this. The people that you know now as children, most of them aren't going to be in your life later on, and they're not going to matter to you one bit. So just tell somebody what's happening and, live your life and be yourself. And that things do get better, like they say, it gets better. It really does.